I stayed in Assisi for 5 days in 2018. Assisi is a beautiful Italian town and commune of Italy in the province of Perugia in the Umbria region, on the western part of Monte Subasio. Assisi is generally regarded as the birthplace of the Latin poet Propertius, born around 50 to 45 BC. It is also the birthplace of Saint Francis, who founded the Franciscan religious order in the town in 1208, and Saint Clare, Chiara di Alfaraducci, who with Saint Francis founded the Poor Sisters, which later became the Order of Poor Clares after her death. The 19th century Saint Gabriel of Our Lady of Sorrows was also born in Assisi. They said that around 1000 BC a wave of immigrants settled in the upper Tiber Valley as far as the Adriatic Sea, and also in the neighborhood of Assisi. These were the Umbrians, living in small fortified settlements on high ground. From 450 BC these settlements were gradually taken over by the Etruscans. Then the Romans came and took control of central Italy after the Battle of Sentinum in 295 BC. They built the flourishing Municipium Assisium on a series of terraces on Monte Subasio. Roman remains can still be found in Assisi: city walls, the Forum, now Piazza del Comune, a theater, an amphitheater, and the Temple of Minerva, now transformed into the Church of Santa Maria sopra Minerva. In 1997, the remains of a Roman villa were also discovered containing several well-preserved rooms with frescoes and mosaics in a condition rarely found outside sites such as Pompeii. In 238 AD Assisi was converted to Christianity by Bishop Rufino, who was a martyr killed at Costano. According to tradition, his remains rest in the Cathedral Church of San Rufino in Assisi. The Ostrogoths of King Totila destroyed most of the town in 545. Assisi then came under the rule of the Lombards as part of the Lombard and then Frankish Duchy of Spoleto. The thriving commune became an independent Ghibelline commune in the 11th century. Constantly struggling with the Guelph Perugia, it was during one of those battles, the battle at Collestrata, that Francesco di Bernardone or Saint Francis of Assisi was taken prisoner, setting in motion the events that eventually led him to live as a beggar, renounce the world and establish the order of Friars Minor. The city, which had remained within the confines of the Roman walls, began to expand outside these walls in the 13th century. In this period the city was under papal jurisdiction. The Rocca Maggiore, the imperial fortress on top of the hill above the city, which had been plundered by the people in 1189, was rebuilt in 1367 on orders of the papal legate, Cardinal Gil de Albornoz. In the beginning, Assisi fell under the rule of Perugia and later under several despots, such as the soldier of fortune Biordo Michelotti, Gian Galeazzo Visconti and his successor Francesco I Sforza, Dukes of Milan, Jacopo Piccinino, and Federico II de Montepulcro, Lord of Urbino. The city went into a deep decline through the plague of the Black Death in 1348. In 1569 construction was started of the Basilica of Santa Maria degli Angeli. During the Renaissance and in later centuries, the city continued to develop peacefully, as the 17th century palazzi of the Bernabe and Jacobetti attest. Now the site of many a pilgrimage, Assisi is linked in legend with its native son, St. Francis. The gentle saint founded the Franciscan order and shares honors with St. Catherine of Siena as the patron saint of Italy. He is remembered by many, even non-Christians, as a lover of nature. His preaching to an audience of birds is one of the legends of his life. Assisi was hit by two devastating earthquakes that shook Umbria in September 1997. But the recovery and restoration have been remarkable, although much remains to be done. Massive damage was caused to many historical sites, but the major attraction, the Basilica di San Francesco, reopened less than 2 years later. UNESCO collectively designated the Franciscan structures of Assisi as a World Heritage Site in 2000. Basilica of San Francesco di Assisi, St. Francis the Franciscan Monastery, Il Sacro Convento, and the Lower and Upper Church, Italian, Basilica Inferiore and Basilica Superiore, of St. Francis were begun immediately after his canonization in 1228, and completed in 1253. The lower church has frescoes by the late medieval artists Cimabue and Giotto. The upper church houses frescoes of scenes in the life of St. Francis previously ascribed to Giotto, but now thought to be by artists of the circle of Pietro Cavallini from Rome. The basilica was badly damaged by a 5.5 earthquake on September 26, 1997, during which part of the vault collapsed, killing 4 people inside the church and carrying with it a fresco by Cimabue. Cathedral of San Rufino, St. Rufinus Church with a Romanesque facade with 3 rose windows and a 16th century interior, part of it is built on a Roman cistern. Basilica of Santa Chiara, St. Clare Church, begun in 1257, with its massive lateral buttresses, rose window and simple Gothic interior, and 13th century frescoes and paintings. It contains the tomb of the namesake saint. Basilica of Santa Maria degli Angeli, St. Mary of the Angels, church which houses the Porzi Ancona. Chiesa Nuova, church built over the presumed parental home of St. Francis. Santo Stefano, one of the oldest churches of Assisi. Eremo dal Carceri, a small monastery with church at a canyon above the town, where St. Francis retreated and preached to birds. Church of San Pietro, St. Peter Monastery built by the Benedictines in the 10th century and rebuilt in the 13th century. It has a rectangular facade with 3 rose windows. The Gothic chapel of the Holy Sacrament houses a triptych by Matteo di Guildo. Church of San Damiano is where St. Clare and the Poor Clares lived and is the location of St. Francis Conversion. Eremo dal Carceri. The town is dominated by 2 medieval castles. The larger, called Rocca Maggiore, is a massive reconstruction by Cardinal Albornoz in 1366 and expanded by Popes Pius II, polygonal tower in 1458 and Paul III, the cylindrical bastion near the entrance, in 1535 to 1538. The smaller of the 2 was built in Roman era. It has been only partially preserved, a small portion and 3 towers being open to the public. If you have the chance to visit Italy, don't forget to have a side trip to this beautiful medieval town of Assisi. Please subscribe to my channel.